Hello and welcome to another T and Bri Chat. Today we're talking about Persona 4. Now, Persona 5 came out in what, January of this year? And like blew the socks off of everybody and drew a lot of attention to the series, and I bought it immediately and played it immediately. But let's rewind the clock about a decade, because I think Persona 4 came out in 2008, which is a long time for a franchise to wait. But they started development like right after Persona 4. But anyway, Persona 4 was on the PS2, and of course I have a PS2 because that's where all the fun. That's when the wave of JRPGs hit.
Yep.
Hit America, was right in that era. And of course I grew up with a GameCube, which has all of 4 or 5 traditional RPGs on it. So as soon as I had my own money and my own job and my own wheels, I ran out and got my own PS2 so I could play all the games. And I must have played it in like 2009.
We were dating online.
Yeah, we were like e-dating, and like because there's so much grinding in that game, I'd be chatting with Bri all night on the keyboard and then grinding monsters and then chatting and grinding monsters, because half the freaking game is running around in randomly generated dungeons fighting monsters just to level up and get money. But because we just finished Persona 5 and we basically played that one together, I was, of course, talking all about Persona 4 and how great it was, and I wanted Bri to experience that too, so I could show her all the memes and the comics and...
Well, you talked about getting Persona 4, and then we got a PS2, and then we sold it, and then we got another PS2, because at that point he wanted everything back.
Yeah.
So then at that point, I got it online for like $20 because I knew you wanted to play it again.
Yeah.
And then Persona 5 actually hadn't come out yet, but you wanted to, since it was like a 100-hour game, we couldn't really finish it. Titan, come here.
Yeah, Titan's chewing on things. We're trying not to let him. But and spoilers ahead, because we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. So
yeah.
So don't let me see in the comments below, oh, you spoiled this for me. It came out 10 years ago, and we're warning you now. So
well, then what do we do? I played like up to through the first dungeon, and then Persona 5 came out, and then Monster Hunter came out,
yeah.
And then we kind of sat down and were like, and then you started to play Spyro,
yeah,
on the PS2,
yeah.
So it got kind of pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah, and then summer hit, where our schedules kind of lined up, where we could sit and play it for 4 hours and not have to worry.
Yeah. So we actually went through Persona 5 first.
Yeah.
Before I got to play through the rest of Persona 4, and then we played Tokyo Mirage Sessions before all of that, because I had never seen a Persona game. Never.
Yeah, yeah.
At that point. And then we played Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I know about Fire Emblem because my brother played a lot of Fire Emblem when we were in middle school, high school, so I knew all of that stuff.
Yeah. I was going to shut this tight and won't stop digging through grocery bags.
And then so I knew all of the stuff about the Fire Emblem stuff in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and you knew all about the Persona modifications and how the dungeons work from that aspect. So yeah. I had a little bit of Persona before Persona 5, but not a lot.
Because Tokyo Mirage Sessions is basically Persona Light, or Diet Persona.
Yeah.
Of course, all the Persona games are rated M, so they deal with a lot of, like...
I'm trying to remember if Tokyo Mirage Sessions was, because there's some pretty racy parts in that.
It might be, but it got hit with the censorship hammer.
Yeah, because it's a
hard.
Nintendo, but...
Yeah. Anyway, back to Persona 4. I'm going to go ahead and say I got the bad ending. Like... When an 8 or a 9-year-old dies, I was like, okay, this is the night bitches die, and I threw Namatame into the TV, and I had no regrets. And then I missed 5 months worth of the game and 2 dungeons, and like there's 6 endings to this game, and I got the worst one, where it basically ends the game prematurely. But there's like 5 good endings. I think you got like the second to best
good ending, but I looked at this game and there's like a part where you're in class and they're like, here's two gods, this is the story of Japan, one's a boy, one's a girl, they get married, and I was like, this is starting to sound like this is actually the main plot of this story.
Yeah, Uzanage and Uzaname or something like that.
And I was like, remember that, putting that in the background. So the whole game I was going, there's someone bigger controlling everybody.
Yeah, because
it's not just one person. It's a whole big thing. I'm sitting there going, maybe it's gods pitted against each other. They're trying to test humanity in some aspect.
They're picking champions to see what happens.
And then whoever wins that round, and then they move on to the next town, or in the case Persona 5,
Yeah, because
that's what I was like. So I had Persona 5 in my brain when I was playing this. So I was like,
yeah,
I knew something else was going on.
Because Inaba is this tiny little rice farm town where, a big department store opens up and it shatters downtown entirely. I mean, it's not a big place for a battle of the gods to be going on. But then the Midnight Channel shows up, which is just a local rumor that you can see the face. What do they say?
Be the face of your lover. It's that whole college myth. They have a college myth here, or not here, and it's really similar. You walk through the bell tower, the bottom of the bell tower, with somebody holding hands, and apparently you're there for life. You're together for life. It's the same thing where you see the love of your life in this fuzzy channel.
Yeah, it only comes on midnights when it's raining. But apparently it forecasts somebody who's about to be kidnapped, and then we run through this whole story of like false villains, because we had Mitsuo, and then who was just empty inside. He wasn't really a villain.
He just wanted to kill someone.
Yeah, and then Namatame, who thought he was saving people because he was watching the Midnight Channel too.
And he knew they were going to get abducted, so he did what I said, they pulled a national treasure. So they're taking the Declaration of Independence before somebody else steals it. So he was stealing people before the other person could.
Yeah.
He did the national treasure thing.
And then Namatame honestly thought he was saving people, and then Adachi was behind it and was basically the main villain.
He was the main villain who obviously just had issues that he didn't resolve, and he had a power trip. And
yeah. I mean, he said he became a police officer so he could carry a gun.
That's it.
And that was the only reason.
That's not a good. It's like, I want to become a teacher because I like the pay. It doesn't work. Yeah. Talk about the teachers in this game. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What?
The teachers in this game are because half of the game is a high school simulator, so you have to answer questions and be in class and join clubs and things.
And it's just like crazy. I don't know what it must be like in Japan for those teachers, but if they're anything like the games portray, they don't have a good education system, because they're just like...
Well, like, there's not just like King Moron who gets killed off anyway.
But then there's like the lady who's dressed up as the Egyptian because she's obsessed with history.
With history in Egypt. And then there's the guy with the hand puppet.
The hand puppet because his wife makes one. And then there's the one lady who's talking about how she's going to leave her husband to these kids.
Yeah.
Like these high school kids. And I'm going, oh my goodness, you never talk about your personal life in America with teachers.
Yeah.
Like, never. It never happens. But in this one, it's all personal life, all personal life. Oh, by the way, here's a question.
Yeah, you can't even answer the questions. Like, you need a guide on your lap, because this game is very Japanese.
It's very like, it's very trick questiony. So the guide will actually tell you, like, this is what they're asking for, but that won't be an option.
Yeah.
You have to, like, use your best judgment on what the guide is telling you.
Yeah, because like it'll ask you like math and philosophy and geography and things that are in Japanese education. I mean, this isn't like, I've watched anime so I know what senpai means.
No.
This is shit that you're not gonna know. Like, even if you don't get like a walkthrough for the rest of the game, you need to have the answers to the school questions in front of you, because you're not gonna know them.
No, unless you have like a particular
penchant for Japanese history and education and
how
philosophy.
A plant works. Like most high school kids, we do know how a plant works. There was a question about chlorophyll and what makes the changing of the leaves and stuff. So there are science questions there.
And they were asking like college level freaking grammar questions
and there was rock questions and mineral questions
and it genuinely feels like you're in school. And yeah, you do get rewarded if you get the right answer because you have your social stats to worry about. And knowledge is by far the hardest one to upgrade because you can study at home, you can study with your group, you can study with a particular person.
I really didn't study.
You can get knowledge points if you answer questions right in class. I mean, it's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Because you have the most opportunity to level it, but it's rough. Okay, so we both ended up with Yukiko.
Yeah.
As a girlfriend.
I wanted Yukiko. You didn't.
I did.
You wanted Kanji.
I wanted Kanji. Kanji, they made a big deal about him being
possibly
gay,
homosexual.
Possibly homosexual, because this game deals with, like, sexuality and guilt and taking over the family business and gender identity and, you know, things that teenagers worry about. And it's not shy about that.
No.
I mean, that's why it's an M-rated game. There's a gay dungeon. You know.
It's symbology of what is homosexual, and that's what I was like, he thinks that all, you know, is just this one aspect. There isn't, like, actual people.
Yeah, Kanji.
It's like you have to act like this in order to be gay.
Yeah,
and
Kanji.
It doesn't work like that.
He's got this idea that if you're gay, you have to be a super effeminate, like,
bulky,
sissy boy.
Crazy buff, have this really weird voice with a lisp, and I was like, whoa!
So he's got issues to deal with. So I ended up hanging out with him a lot, but you can't actually date him or anything.
No.
But that would have been a serious step forward in 2008. But it was him coming to terms with the fact that he might not even be gay.
He's not.
He might be, like, bi-curious at the very least, but he's probably not actually
it comes out
gay.
like he's afraid of girls because of one incident where he makes he makes plushies. That's what he does. I made that. That's a pipe fox. So he makes plushies, and then when he's young, and they make fun of him, and they call him like, oh, that's only what girls do. And then at that point on, he becomes this
biker boy, like,
with this really sweet mom, like really hardcore, just adorable mom, and he finally comes to realize that it doesn't really
he forges
matter.
this mask over himself of what he thinks he should be to be manly versus what he feels inside, etc., etc. And that's the whole point of Persona anyway, is confronting the part of yourself that you don't want to.
So in his case, it's actually has nothing to do with really a sexual. It has everything to do with the fact that he can sew, and that's it.
Yeah, and his mom is a seamstress.
Yeah,
yes,
of course he can sew.
Yeah,
and it comes to the point where he realizes that he is attracted to somebody, but in the game, you're established as this is a boy, and then later on it comes out that it's not a boy, it's a girl.
Yeah,
so
Naoto.
So he's.
Yeah, this other character comes in really late. I think Naoto's the last one that joins us.
Well, okay, so Naoto is the last one that joins us, but is in the game for like 45 hours, where like half the game pops up. I'm going, something is not right. Yeah,
the detective prince, Naoto, dresses up like a boy, acts like a boy, has a gender-neutral voice.
We're talking like, it's on the cusp, it could be feminine, it could be masculine. I was like...
And yeah, just like a bunch of animes where you can't really tell the gender until you find out specifically, but we find out...
when she gets upset, it comes out. Yeah, that's the thing.
In like battles and stuff.
Well, like if she gets, like most of the time when you see Naoto, because she's working with the police, she's like
very
monotone, controlled. The instant she gets upset, this little high-pitched squeaky voice comes out. I was like, whoa, that's not right.
And Kanji falls for Naoto, but thinks that she's a boy.
In the beginning.
And has to struggle with that.
But then when it comes out when she's a girl, he's like all about it. He's like, yes, get in a bathing suit. Yes. Yeah. Very Japanese. It's like, yes, go in a bathing suit on stage. I need to see this.
Yeah, and we have 100 hours to work with, so we have a vast cast of characters that all have their wants and needs and struggles and desires.
So Naoto's struggle
serious flaws.
Being in a masculine dominated job.
Yeah.
And needing to be exactly like that, so that's why she dresses up as a boy, because she feels like that's the only way she'll get recognized.
Yeah.
But she's what, 15?
Maybe
14.
You're in a grade higher than her, so
she's in the first year of high school. I don't know what
15.
that is for 15. So,
ish.
in that case, you know, the police officers treat her like a kid.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with her gender. It has the fact that she is a kid.
Yeah.
She's a smart kid.
Yeah.
But you're still a child at that point.
Yeah.
You know? So she's dealing with the thing like, I need to be a boy in order for them to respect me.
Yeah.
And they're calling me a kid, but if I change it so I'm a boy, then I won't do that. And I just don't, I don't know. I know how high school brains work. I was a high schooler, you were a high schooler.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you get older and you're like, this shit doesn't matter anymore, guys.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you're like,
But we led very different high school lives, which was really interesting for me because I joined like the soccer club and like the drama club, and I spent a lot of time studying so that I could be like the top of the class. And you are rewarded if you're in like the top 10 or the top 1 of your class, because Yukiko is usually number 1.
I was number
1. We'll get
I was distracting her, that's why.
We'll get to that.
I'm going to put my pup, so it's going to make a lot of noise.
But you joined the basketball club
and the band,
and the band.
Those were the two things that I kind of did in high school. I was a band geek, and I was an art geek, and I was a basketball. I could play basketball pretty well.
And you have all the different social links with all the different people based on that, and you can't do everything because you're on the calendar, because you're only in Inaba for a year.
Well, you can do everything, but it's really, really hard to do, and you have to like follow it to a T.
Yeah, which is not something you want to do the first time
around.
First time you play through. Plus, in New Game Plus, you can keep your money, your ultimate Persona items, your compendium, and your social stats, which makes it a lot easier, because if you don't have to stop to study
or build up your diligence.
Or build up your diligence or anything.
I fished. You didn't fish.
I didn't fish. You would just slam through everything because your social stats wouldn't stop you. Because when you arrive in Inaba, you're like a stupid, cowardly, milquetoast, easily distracted asshole. And, you know, by the time you're super knowledgeable, very gallant, diligent, etc., etc., etc.
Can express yourself.
And you can express yourself.
That was one of the weird ones.
But, you ended up doing a lot of fishing because you got the healing hands.
Well, I got Blessed Hands.
The Blessed Hands.
I got Duchess, but this is all for Yukiko, so it was like Yukiko stuff. And at that point, I broke the game because the Blessed Hands double your output for how much mana you use, SP you use. So at the very beginning, if you get like one regular medical spell or health spell, it doubles it out. So all I had to do through the whole game was just keep Yukiko with the Blessed Hands, and everybody would be healed for nothing.
Because it was, and why is that in video games? Is like fishing is the most boring thing imaginable, but that's where all the best.
It's a part of Japan though, because they're surrounded by ocean.
Yeah,
so
but
that's a big part of their culture.
But like in Legend of Zelda or in their
culture
or in Stardew Valley, you know,
that's a Harvest Moon clone part of their culture.
Yeah, but like all the best shit in the game is hidden behind fishing, no matter where you look.
I just have to say, because it is a Japanese game, that is a huge part of their culture.
Yeah.
Fishing is a huge part of their culture, so if it comes from Japan or is a clone from Japan in case of Stardew Valley, they're going to revolve around something that is part of their culture.
Because I fished up, like, what was it, Poseidon's Glaive or something, like a level 7 sword in Stardew Valley from a river.
Yeah.
But you found, you traded fish for an item that doubles healing.
And then the Duchess, which was like a way higher tier fan. She uses a fan, that's her weapon.
Yeah.
And they used that for like 6 dungeons because it was way better than anything that was being made at the armor shop.
We used the Duchess for like 6 dungeons.
Yeah. I didn't change it out until like the last 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I don't think. Because I think I didn't trade it out until Naoto's dungeon, if even. Because that was still better than everything else I got. And it's the same thing though. I did the cowboy boots, not the cowboy boots. Chie shoes.
Yeah.
Silk slippers, steel slippers.
The steel slippers, yeah.
Same thing. And then, what was the other one? We got the something plate for kanji.
Oh, the photon plate.
Something.
Yeah.
One of the higher end plates, because kanji just grabs stuff. Kanji is like, I'm gonna grab a chair.
Folding chairs,
I'm gonna grab
desks.
Yeah, just
weird
for
shit.
his weapon, he just swings random objects like a WWE wrestler.
Like
WWF
a Viking shield and weird shit.
Weird shit. And we were trying to, if you look at the fishing stuff, he gives really good stuff for the same level you're at, but way higher stats. So it's a good thing to go fishing.
Yeah.
And then the only way to finish out the fox is if you do his quest, the fishing guy's quest.
Yeah, one of the best whole like social links in the game is the fox.
It's the fox. That's why he's here. This is the pipe fox. So he's here because
you have to go to that shrine and do subquests for him, but then he follows you into the TV world and for a fee heals you. But every time you do another subquest for him, the healing gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper until you've got like this infinite loop where you can train as much as you want
in one day without losing your. Well, you can go up to him and he'll heal your SP, and that's the biggest hitch in this. Like I said before, I had Yukiko, so healing wasn't an issue, but her SP would drain.
Yeah,
because you were healing. So well, not so much, but healing just even little tiny increments after a while drains it. So he would heal literally all of your SP. So if you like, everybody else has really high SP, you could just take them out of your party.
Yeah.
Heal yourself and whoever's with you. In this case, it was me. It was Yukiko. Get all her SP back and run back in. So I did dungeons in one day. Yeah. Because of the fox.
I think you blitzed Nanako's dungeon in like 5 days.
And then,
I think 4 days. I remember now.
I did it twice because we went out to go get more gear.
You ascended through the spheres of heaven in 4 days. That was amazing.
Well, then there's like cutscenes, so it's like you have to do the cutscenes before you get to the next point. So it was like, I'm almost there. I'm at level 8, and it was a boss, and I was like, let's go get more gear. So that was the reason I left.
Yeah,
I would have kept going, but that was the reason I left because we needed the new gear.
Yeah, and those bosses and sub bosses, they're all really interesting. Mm-hmm. Like what was your favorite boss? Just like out of the ones that you remember.
Oh geez.
For me, I think it was either Shadow Yukiko, like the bird in the cage,
or
the 8-bit hero with Mitsuo. He's like, and then you take like 500 damage.
The Final Fantasy clone.
The Final Fantasy clone, because he's empty inside, so he doesn't even really have a shadow. So his shadow self is like a fetus.
It's a fetus. It's a baby, yeah.
Because he feels empty inside, so the shadow doesn't know what to portray.
My favorite boss? I'm trying to remember. I liked Naoto's dungeon in general.
The bunker.
And her storyline in general.
Yeah.
Like, I was hardcore on the belief, like, I didn't realize that it was because she was being called a child. I thought it was like she was struggling hardcore with the fact that she wants to be a boy.
Yeah.
But just not. The whole thing was like, we're going to go through surgery, and it was actually from her, making her a kid into an adult and not into a boy at the very end.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I was shocked by that because for the longest time I was like, she wants to change genders. That's the whole thing with this dungeon. And at the end, it's like she's just changing into adult. That's going to be the big surgery at the end. It's not that she's going to become a boy. It's because she's trying to become an adult. And I don't know. Shadow Teddy's pretty scary.
Yeah, poor Teddy.
Because he's like really.
Because Teddy is such an annoying douchebag for like the first 20 hours you know him, because he's always like, oh, so-and-so's poisoned, you should heal them. I was like, yes, Teddy, I know. Oh, so-and-so's health is really low, you gotta mix, oh my gosh, are you okay? I know, Teddy.
Rise does the same
thing. Does the same thing, but we don't really need that.
And I heard Rise's voice and I was like, I know this voice actress. I know this voice actress. Why do I know this voice actress? And I was listing off characters to him, and he hasn't seen Soul Eater, but it's Maka from Soul Eater. You're like, oh, you looked it up, and I was like, it's from Maka from Soul Eater. I was like, that's why I know her voice.
Oh, okay.
It was 24 episodes of listening to Maka whine.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it's the same. Rise's the same way as Teddy, so and so's defense is down, blah blah blah. I was just like, I know.
And despite him, at least at first, being an annoying like mascot character, he's got the saddest like existential crisis story. And eventually at the very end, that he says that he was a shadow, and I think therefore I am. So he's not a shadow and he's not a person. He's hollow inside, and then he grows a body and moves into the real world, and then back into the shadow realm or the TV world or whatever.
Yeah.
He becomes the mascot again. I mean, if he had like shed the mascot outfit entirely, if he like grew a body and then like, oh, I don't need this anymore, that would have been amazing.
Well, that's what he does in the real world.
That's what he does in the real world, but if that had become like permanent, like in the TV world, like he didn't need it anymore, he had grown as a person.
I guess.
And he goes to live with Yusuke, which I'm still wondering how that's going to work, but whatever. And that would have been a really interesting story arc for him, was, you know, I'm a real boy now.
Well, yeah, it's the Pinocchio syndrome.
And that's the Pinocchio syndrome, but he had to deal with so much heavy shit, and he basically blocked it out himself. He didn't have, like, amnesia. You know, there was no
He just didn't exist before then.
He just didn't exist.
Or he did. Well, there's the whole MatPat theory now.
And then, yeah, if you've seen Game Theory, and shame on you if you haven't, there's a game theory with MatPat that Teddy is supposed to be your shadow.
Because when you get your powers, it severs your shadow from yourself.
When you're the chosen one.
And then he becomes a wandering shadow in the realm that's a little bit more special than the rest of them.
So, you know, being the chosen one, you don't have... And it can't give you a shadow, because you're the silent protagonist and the game doesn't know you, so it can't give you a mirror to look at.
Yeah.
And if you hit the characters...
Why you?
Yeah, why you?
If you want to... You can call him Magnus, it might be easier.
Yeah.
I named him Magnus.
Bri named him Magnus. If Magnus was... I forgot what I was going to say.
Blank slate?
Yeah. If Magnus was his own character, like if he talked and had habits, etc., outside of what we did, then he could have a shadow, and that could be like the first boss. But because he's supposed to represent you and your choices and what you do throughout the game, he can't, because the PS2 is not smart enough to give you a psychology test.
No.
One of the Silent Hill games does that.
It's the weird one that
Downpour.
Aaron and Dan played.
I think it was Downpour, but it gives you...
It's the one with the little girl on the swing.
The little girl on the swing, where at the very beginning it gives you a psychology test to figure out how it's going to fuck with you, and I thought that was amazing.
Well, yeah, that's why it took so long to come out, but then it came out on the Wii of all things.
The Wii of all things, which is like Bayonetta. It was like, why is Bayonetta on the Wii? Nobody's going to buy it. Or nobody's going to buy a Wii to play Bayonetta. Anyway, Magnus can't have a shadow because he's supposed to be you. So Teddy is like, according to this theory, is the other half of that. He was your shadow, but when you became the chosen one, you were torn apart. Which is a good set of reasoning.
Which is a good theory.
It's a good set of reasoning.
Because in the long run, you know, your personas are all fluid at that point.
Yeah.
Because you've been given that power. But it's never, like, established with the other two characters that can do this, with Namatame and Adachi, that, you know, they can suck in shadows.
Yeah.
And they have a shadow, but they don't have a persona.
Yeah, Namatame never manifested a persona. He merged with shadows.
With shadows.
Adachi had a persona, but it looks like...
Ours.
It looks like
our first one.
It looks like Izunage. That's the boy version. Nage, whatever. It's like a shadow it's not even like the detective in Persona 5, where he disguises himself
as
Robin Hood. As Robin Hood. But it's
Hood.
actually Loki, who can look like whatever he wants. Like Adachi, which implies that he faced his shadow and either wasn't bothered by it or defeated it.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Or at least acknowledged it, because he was already, like...
in La La Land.
Off in La La Land, because rare be it the psychopath that knows he's a psychopath and just kind of enjoys it. That's a special kind of evil.
Yeah.
But, you know, apparently he made some kind of mistake and got banished to Inaba, where he wouldn't do any more harm with the police force. Like, I don't think they actually said what he did.
No.
But he made a mistake on a big case somewhere, and they reassigned him to this tiny nothing of a town, and he's resented it ever since then. So his reason for kidnapping people and throwing them into the TV to die is that he's bored.
Well, that and, like, he's got some weird, I don't know, women issues. There's a lot of women play in this where it's like, oh, this woman scorned me, therefore she must die. Like, okay.
Yeah, because the first two victims were both women.
Well, and then he tries to make a move on both of them.
Yeah.
And they say no, and then he throws them into the TV.
Yeah, he's got...
Like, that's the cue! huge. He's got women issues.
It's not a god complex. It's a I've worked this hard, therefore
I
deserve, or I get, you know? And that
and
doesn't work that way.
And that's what I was assuming was the first thing, which actually happened to be true, but Namatame wasn't evil. Namatame was just having an affair.
Yeah, he thought he was a prophet, basically.
And it was, well, and, someone told him, this is how you can save people.
Yeah.
Through the TV.
Yeah.
I think it was Adachi.
Yeah, and Adachi never said his name, so Adachi was a voice on the phone that kind of steered Namatame to do this, and then he sat back and watched, which is even lazier as a villain. He's the most subtle RPG villain I've ever seen.
Well, what I was really iffy with him at the start, and maybe it was because of Persona 5 and because the detective did turn out to be evil.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that, because I didn't have that vibe for Naoto, but the thing was, with Naoto, she wasn't a full cop.
Adachi was always there at the
Well,
very
he had
least.
a portrait. Whenever somebody has a portrait in these games, they become important at some point. Like, I ran into Namatame on the street probably right before Risei.
Yeah, that's like 2/3 of the way through the game. You find this guy randomly on the street, and he's getting...
And I was like, he has a portrait.
Like
why does he have a portrait?
Whenever the text box comes up, if it's an important character, they'll have like a picture and like their facial expression.
Yeah, and then he was talking about his wife and how his wife was going to leave him, and I was like, why is this important?
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then we never see him again.
Well, we hear about the delivery people.
And it would have been just as easy to not talk to him because he's gone the next day.
He is, because he's right outside the bookshop or the armor shop, and I was like, who are you? And then the portrait popped up.
You can very easily just miss him.
But that was my big issue. I realized way later on was Adachi is there from the beginning, and you don't get an arcana with him. You have a portrait, you have conversations with him, he gives you hints most of the time, and you never develop an arcana with him. So he rubbed me the wrong way for most of the game.
Yeah, there's a social link with like 20 different people. Plus,
and if they have a portrait, generally you have one. You have a social link with them at some point.
Yeah, like Band Girl and the basketball guys, all your party members, Dojima and Nanako. Everybody in this game that's important
has a portrait.
And most of them have
an arcana.
Have an arcana.
And I was just like flabbergasted, and I think that's what threw me off, is that you are there from the beginning. You meet Adachi, being this, you said he was the, plucky idiot detective partner.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
And I figured it out way later that it's because he had a portrait. And he's, telling you what to do 90% of the time, and like turning around and being like, I didn't see nothing. Nope, I didn't say nothing. And then it's supposed to come off as he's an idiot and he's a big loudmouth.
Which implies that he knows
what you are.
What you are very early.
So that's what rubbed me the wrong way, was the fact that he had a portrait.
Yeah.
And you don't develop an arcana with him. So it's like, he's important.
But why?
And I was like, I don't like him. I just don't. And you're like, no, he's just the idiot detective.
Well, I didn't. I've already seen all
the good ending.
All the endings.
Well, and you didn't want to spoil it for me.
I didn't want to spoil it for you.
I figured it out. And I took a picture on my phone that said, sorry, little guy, that it said, Adachi is something, something, something. I took that picture when Dojima's in the hospital and he's like hobbling in.
Yeah.
And he's starting to question and figure it out, even though we've already figured it out. And then the options are like sitting at the ramen shop, and we're like, I wonder who it is.
And then
Adachi was there, and I was like, it's Adachi, and you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah. Well,
I was like, it totally is. I'm guessing this right now, and then it was like, Adachi's been at every single crime scene. He's given us all these hints. He's looked the other way.
He's led us into all these places we not ought to be.
And there was something with Risei where it was, we were chasing down the photography guy. Risei is a pop star in this universe. So she had some creeper taking pictures of her outside of the
tofu store.
The tofu store. And so we assumed he was going to be the one to grab her. So our whole group chases after this guy. Adachi's supposed to be guarding her at this point.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He comes with us, giving Namatame the time to grab her and throw her in the TV. And for some reason, that made me really, weirded out. Like, he comes up, maybe 3 or 4 minutes after we've started to ask this guy questions.
Yeah.
And then arrests him. It's like he's waiting back
Yeah.
Watching Namatame run and grab Rise, throw her in the TV, and by the time that's all done, then he's like, oh, I should go probably do my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. He rubbed me the wrong way. And like with the Namatame scene where they're like, let's kill him. He killed Nanako. And I was like, do you not remember the conversation we had with the teacher? There are two gods at play here.
Yeah.
He did not start this. This is not his, he didn't just plan. He didn't make me have powers. He didn't, I haven't seen this guy before besides the 2/3 through the game. Someone gave me powers.
Yeah.
Who the hell is that? And that's where I was at. I was like...
Yeah, because you can't get the true ending of the game the first time through. You just can't.
No.
You have to spend a lot of time leveling up your social stats and kind of like blundering through all the side missions that you need to do for this fox, and there's not enough time. There's never enough time the first time through. But
No.
if you go into New Game Plus and you really, really get all 20 of these freaking things, then you can go fight God, basically. Yeah. And that's kind of the point of all the Persona games, is to go fight God. I mean, even in Persona 5, I've never seen a game where you can shoot God in the face with a bullet made of Satan.
Yeah. That
was really freaking funny. But that's neither here nor there. But it's impossible to get the true ending the first time around. I would doubt you until the cows come home if you said you did. Even if you had a guide in your lap and you ruined this game for yourself.
Yeah.
If it told you what to do on every single day, there's too many random factors.
You need to have your social stats up.
Yeah. But
before you can do that.
But yeah, and again, for me, as soon as Nanako flatlines, I was like, okay, he's dead now. This is not... I mean, and you spend 80 hours with this child every single day. Welcome home, big bro. Oh, you're home. Hey, I did shopping if you want food. And then she freaking dies. I was like, okay, this is happening. Like when in Family Guy, when Stewie pulls out the revolver and spins it, and he's like, all right, I guess this is the night bitches die.
Yeah.
I was like, I saw red, and I killed Namatame immediately, and I missed like a third of the game.
Yeah.
And that was just the ending that I got.
No, I was...
And I didn't want to play it again, because it was, 80 hours in, or 60 hours in. So like here I am 6 years later, 7 years later. I was like, well, if Bri's gonna play it, I can at least steer her away from the bad ending. But you wouldn't have been caught by the bad ending, because I
was like, there is something bigger here, guys. You are seeing this like this, and you need to think like this.
Yeah, I had tunnel vision, and I get mad a lot easier than you, though. Yeah. So you kind of saw that there was an orchestrator.
I was like, there's at least 2 other people or 1 other person in this.
Because we chained from Mitsuo, who was just
an idiot,
false, to Namatame, who was like a false prophet who was wound up like a soldier and sent to walk.
Yeah.
To Adachi, who was basically the main villain, but still endowed by someone greater than himself.
That was my issue, is I was like, there's still something here.
Yeah, it's like, why do we suddenly have the power to go into the TV?
Why did they mention gods, like, at the first, 10 days of the game?
Yeah.
And, there it is.
And then beyond...
Never see it.
Beyond Adachi is the god of fog, which has a long Japanese
The god
name.
of darkness. It's Usunagi and Usunami, whatever it is.
And then beyond the god of fog and deception is Izunami, I think is the name.
And she's, we think...
And she's like...
the wife of Izunagi, who went to the...
Yeah, there's a long,
thing. This is how Japan was developed. And
yeah, but there's like
there's
6 tiers of whodunit, and they're progressively closer to the truth, which is the whole point behind the game, where a god is endowing mortals with power and watching them go so long as the fog remains and the truth is, like, that curtain isn't pulled back. But if you play the game twice through, you can go fight God. And I was like, there's that clip of Spoonie when he was reviewing Final Fantasy X, or Final Fantasy X-2. It's like, if you miss one line of dialogue, or if you miss one item, 99%.
99%.
And I was like, he's like, I got 3 words for you. YouTube and fuck that.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to play this game twice through to see one more boss fight.
Unless they want to.
Unless they just really, really want to.
But
Because, again, this was 6 years ago for me, and then I just had to make sure you didn't get the bad ending and then watch to see how far you got.
Yeah.
And you got the second to best ending, so...
Well, I don't know. There's just... foreshadowing. There was foreshadowing way early on, and I remembered it, and I was like, you know, how do you get these powers? That was my big issue. It's like, you know, every single superhero has a backstory. They get thrown into a vat of this. They get rays from the sun. They're
they get
an
struck
alien.
with lightning, you know.
You know, and it's like, Magnus just... Psh,
what's the catalyst, you know?
and it's like, I'm magic. It's like, doesn't work like that.
Yeah, he just sticks his hand through a TV one day. I'm Magnus, I'm magic.
I'm magic. Like, it doesn't... And then there's two other people in the same town. It's like, it doesn't work like that. Did we eat something all that was the same? Did we... And it turns out we encountered the one creeper that I thought was a creeper.
Yeah, she suspected the gas attendant, who is God in disguise.
In disguise.
Is
It's got a hat. Didn't have an umbrella on rainy days, just a hat.
Yeah,
and the only time you ever see her, or her, is on rainy days. And it, once again, rubbed me the wrong way. Everybody else has these little umbrellas walking around, and the one gas attendant doesn't have an umbrella, and I was like, what's wrong with you?
Because the whole point for the gas attendant on rainy days is so you don't have to get out of your car and get wet. But
and you do talk to her at the very beginning of the game.
She doesn't carry an umbrella, and you do talk to her and shake hands.
Because it's raining at the very beginning of the game. Isn't it? No. She's just out.
That's the only time you see her during a sunny day.
Yeah.
And then all the other days
and
are
then you
raining.
black out. And I didn't really establish that. Like, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
You as Magnus kind of get sick after that.
You get sick right at the very beginning of the game because, you know, shaking hands with God doesn't sit well with your stomach.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any big deal about it. Because, you know, 100 hours later, you're not going to remember that until it's like, well, what's the inciting incident? Who did you meet in town first? And you think, well, yeah, that's Dojima and Nanako, but...
Yeah, it was like option Nanako. I was like, no.
It's like Nanako did not put herself in
Nanako is not a... I mean, she could have been. That would have been epic.
Yeah.
Because she dies and comes back to life. I was so mad at that doctor. It's like, it's just, we don't know what's wrong with her, but we saved her. It's like,
Yeah, that was a really poorly written hospital scene.
Like,
but
and then the nurse is just always hounding Dojima wherever he goes.
Yeah, but the gas station attendant is God in disguise. But
because they shake when Namatame comes to town to visit with with his lover, the lady who dies first though.
Yeah. And
then Adachi,
who got banished to Inaba and was no doubt feeling really resentful.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it would have made really cool if Nanako was that, because that would have been the only way she would come back to life.
Yeah.
If she was a god, and I'm choosing to come back to life now because you made the right choice.
Yeah, or just that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
And you want to talk about the Velvet Room?
Yeah, I think, and this is just a tiny theory on my part, I think that you, or Magnus, or whatever you named him, the main character, comes from a very rich family. Because your parents are traveling, it says, for a year. I think, or it's business or travel or something like that, and they leave you behind in Inaba with your uncle and your cousin, Nanako, for a year. And then you arrive by train, like a first-class, really nice train. It was not packed with people like so many trains in Japan are, where they're just mushed in.
Yeah.
And you arrive in this tiny...
We're also going to tiny towns, so maybe nobody's going out that far.
And you arrive at this end-of-the-line town, and then when you enter the Velvet Room, it's a limousine. Mm-hmm. So it's like in Persona 3, the Velvet Room is an elevator shaft, an elevator going up to represent ascension. And then in Persona 5, the Velvet Room is a prison, because you're trying to break the chains of society and be your own man and all that. Persona 4, it's a limousine, and it never really gets discussed. I think it might be because you comes from a place of like value or like high society or something, because if it's supposed to be like a reflection of your situation,
yeah,
you're in a vehicle that only rich people or people going to prom are ever in, going nowhere.
Well, they're headed somewhere.
They're headed somewhere.
It's the journey. The whole point of the limousine constantly moving is the fact that you are on a journey.
But the Velvet Room, it's very small. It's a limousine with a wet bar and like a personal assistant and Igor, and you never find out who the driver is, though it would have been really...
I wanted it to be Teddy. I wanted to be like, Teddy was supposed to be driving the limo. That's why they're lost, because they imply that they're not there yet because they haven't quite found the way yet, which is just you and a person trying to find the truth. That's the whole thing there.
And the limo's surrounded by fog and all that.
But it's like really pretty fog, but like you see Teddy wandering around in the same kind of pretty fog versus the really, really scary fog in the regular shadow place.
And we thought, wouldn't it be nice...
Teddy's a limo driver. That's why they're lost. It's because he just like left them.
Yeah, Teddy got off on a break or something and then wandered into the fog and forgot himself.
And he forgot. Like, that's why we're not going anywhere.
That would be really funny.
Because Teddy's the limo driver.
Teddy's the limo driver. But would also make sense because then the Velvet Room only allows certain people within, and since Teddy by theory is your shadow, that would make sense because he's the only one to ever appear in the Velvet Room besides you.
And Igor and Margaret.
And if he is a part of you, then yeah, he would steer quote unquote the Velvet Room wherever it was going because he would represent your inner self. But since Teddy is lost and without an identity, it makes even more sense.
Yeah.
So I would
love him to be the limo driver, please. And that's why he's like the blonde, swooshy, has a little flower.
Yeah, that is my just a theory. It's just a game theory.
Put a little cap on him and it would be perfect. Like, he would be perfect for it.
Yeah, I think Yu comes from a very rich family.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, we have Dojima, who not winning any Father of the Year awards anytime soon. And yes,
Dojima kind of rubbed me the wrong way too.
Yeah, and not without his traumas.
He has traumas.
Because his wife was hit by a car. They never caught the guy. It was an American-made car. So it could be on the other side of the freaking world by now. The wife dies. Nanako is without a mother. Dojima obsesses with finding this guy, but it's clearly not going to happen. And
he's just trying. It's an avoidance tactic. I mean, I work with parents and I work with children a lot. So Dojima, it's an avoidance tactic. It's avoiding the fact that his wife is dead. It's clinging to that last remnant so he doesn't have to enter reality, essentially.
He's not going to get justice, and he knows it. And Nanako suffers for it because he throws himself into his work.
And then she has to become an adult at age 8.
And anytime that damn phone rings, he never once says, no, I'm at home with my daughter.
Well, the problem with being in a small town is if you're like one of the only people who can be relied on, you have to go, but at the same time...
And Nanako does the laundry, and Nanako freaking does the cooking for a good amount of time. She's not taller.
She's 8 years old and she's shopping in this country.
Yeah.
In this, especially this state, you are not allowed to be at home until a certain age. She is under that age. She should not be by herself.
She can't see over the counter.
Like
she's not tall enough.
I understand that there is like a small town complex. Trust me, we live in a small town.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are children that I work with who are exactly the same as her. They're way more adult than more adults I know.
And we do, even if you get far enough with Dojima's story, you do have that heart-wrenching, you're not my real dad conversation.
And you're not Nanako's real dad, I'm her dad.
Yeah.
I'm doing homework with her. I'm visiting with her.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'm watching TV with her. I'm putting her to bed when she is sick and has a fever.
Yeah.
And I'm giving her medicine, not you.
Yeah. So it's a real broken family situation. And you can fix it.
Yeah.
If you finish out Nanako's story and Dojima's story, there's at least, like, reconciliation there.
Well, then he starts to really...
And especially after he freaking... eats the back end of a truck.
Of a delivery truck?
Of a delivery truck screaming through the streets in the dead of night. Once he eats that wake-up call and Nanako's in the hospital and then dies and then undies by whatever fucking dialogue tree that doctor had.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the wake-up call he needed. I mean, it wasn't really every time I look at you I see my wife.
No, it was...
It's that my wife's killer is out there and I need justice and nothing else matters.
And I understand the concept of he's trying to protect Nanako.
And Nanako suffers for this.
But Yeah, you gotta protect her while you're there. You can't protect her while you're off in La La Land.
You know, she's growing up now.
And that's it.
There's no later.
You've missed like 2 years already.
Yeah, there's no.
And she's an adult now, so she doesn't need your help figuring out how to become an adult.
Yeah.
She figured it out on her own.
She answers the fucking phone. I wasn't allowed to answer the phone when I was 8.
Well, that's, you know.
I don't know. Maybe
Some
that's
of
just
these
a thing.
children-
Maybe that's just a thing in my house. Let the grown-ups answer the phone. Don't
And if
answer
there's,
the phone.
don't answer the phone. Don't, like, they tell her, don't open the doors to strangers. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Which was another hint towards
I was like the
Adachi, or the postman, was that when Nanako is alone by herself, she's
Who would she open the door for?
Who would she open the door for? Well, a policeman or the mailman.
And both of those people were bad guys.
And both of those people were bad guys.
And I got that.
Okay, so the battery's starting to wind down just a bit. So why don't we cover some basic stuff?
Okay.
Favorite persona. Mine was Seth, the Black Dragon.
You like the Black Dragon. I like Kusith.
Kusith.
Because it had growth and then it had Triestro, which Triestro was a free get out of dungeon.
Yeah.
It would spend a little SP. You could get something called Go Homes, which would take you out of the dungeon too, but those cost money.
Yeah.
But just for like maybe 8, maybe 5 SP, you could just leave the dungeon, go heal with the fox, go back in.
Yeah, you'd be nine levels in and it would jump you back to the entrance. That was really useful.
Because like most of the other ones, it was like Gidan was a big giant fire tiger. Why am I not going to like that? You know, I'm going to like that. And I like Seth. Seth kind of reminds me of a really strange, like he's got a whale head. It's a humpback whale nose. But he was a powerful persona because I bred him with a bunch of other things. Then the one I merged 2 personas and it was on a day where the fool was high.
The Arcana forecast really fucked with us.
And it popped out this like null to physical, null to something, and then 3 or 4 attacks.
Yeah.
That were like really high end, and I was like, how did I do this? And then we tried to make another persona, and then the fool popped out, and something really, really bad popped out. I was like, we are not doing this. I'm restarting.
Yeah, the Arcana forecast or whatever it is now and then will screw with how you merge personas, sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. I also had Titania for a very long time, which is a very early...
Kusith is really early, too.
A very early one, but at the time she had 1 spell of every element.
Yeah.
Which in Persona is a really big deal, so I didn't drop her for a very long time. Probably kept her way longer than I should have. But you try to end out combats within like the first 2 rounds, because if not, then you take a lot of unnecessary damage. Okay, how about...
Well, like, I liked Unicorn, too. I couldn't get rid of Unicorn for a long time because it had, once again, all the elemental attacks.
Yeah.
And then there's another fire one that I had that was Gidan merged with something else. I don't remember what it was. But it had, like, Miragidyne and Agidyne and then a couple other, like, null to fire, null to wind.
You ended up with a lot of instant death spells.
I liked my instant death spells. Those were
like you ended up with a lot of personas that knew all of the like mass death by shadow or by light, because there's both there. Just the insta kill spells, and you were very good at them.
And Naoto and I kind of had the almighty damage.
Yeah, you ended up cracking
Megadolans all over the place.
Megadolans all over the place.
Yeah, because there's a lot of those things that weren't immune to anything. But almighty damage always, there's no like immunity to it.
Yeah.
It might not do a lot of damage, but it always does damage to everything.
Yeah, because almighty damage is not on the elemental wheel, so
it looks like a little like radiation symbol.
It looks like the nuclear symbol from Persona 5, which is really weird.
Because then almighty is a different thing in Persona 5.
Because almighty is a different symbol, but they kept the nuclear symbol and made it nuclear damage.
Made it like a whole separate.
Oh, okay, but then over into
I'm trying to think about
we both ended up with Yukiko, and it deeply implies that we lose our virginity on Christmas Eve.
Yay!
Yeah, because you loved the first time she comes over to you loved the first time she comes over to see your room, and what does she say?
No, the options. The options for you to talk to her are, do you want to sit or do it gives you 3 options. It is the couch, the floor, the futon.
For where she can sit, supposedly.
This is before you figure out what you're saying, and you mention one, and she goes, "What? Oh, you mean to sit down? Okay, but I was so excited. I was just like,
having a girl in your room. Oh my goodness.
Well, and the problem is that Nanako was downstairs. That was my other issue. I'm like, Nanako is downstairs right now. Probably not the best time.
And then, you know, fast forward like 70 hours, and Nanako's in the hospital, Dojima's in the hospital, nobody's home. You're basically spending Christmas by yourself.
By myself. Why don't I just go over to the hotel? Come on.
And then Yukiko has Chie cover for her, and then she comes over to your house to spend the night.
She gives you a keychain, and he was like, that's lame. I was like, no, that's awesome.
She gives you a keychain, so you can make the ultimate persona of the Priestess Arcana.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that carries over, is that keychain. But then she spends the night with you on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it can't actually say anything.
Doesn't say anything. It's
because
just
they're high school kids, and this is an M-rated game and stuff like that. But it's pretty heavily implied.
Yeah.
That you sleep together on Christmas Eve.
That's why I said you're like you're leaving, and the only thing that my girlfriend gave me was a keychain, and I was like, and her virginity. That's a pretty big gift.
Yeah, yeah, and again, my opinion that the game really pushes you towards Yukiko because she's your healer early on until you get Teddy, which is way down the line. She's more potent magically than anybody else. She has the highest magic stat.
Well, and then the other thing is that I maxed her out really early on.
Yeah.
So I got her ultimate persona before anybody else's.
And you unlock
So
her.
for like 5 or 6 dungeons, I had the ultimate one. So she was more potent than everybody that way, too.
Yeah, and when you unlock somebody's ultimate persona, they lose their elemental weakness.
Yeah.
It goes from
She's
weak.
blocked.
It goes from weak to neutral.
Yeah.
And then their elemental strength goes from strong to block, or strong to null, or something like that. But
well, she blocked fire.
Yeah.
99% of that game, she was blocking fire.
yeah, and but like you can end up with Chie, or
You can end up with Rise. They push pretty hard for Rise.
Like Rise is super flirty and stuff like that. You can end up with Ayane, the band girl.
You can end up with You could end up with what's her face from for a drama club.
For a drama club, yeah. There's like 8 or 9 girls, but Yukiko is early, almost always in your party because she's gonna be your healer.
For those first few dungeons, it's you, Chie, Yosuke, and Yukiko, and then you go to the kanji.
Yeah, but like out of like all the party members to switch between, there's really no reason to take Yukiko out unless you just like Teddy more as a healer. Or unless you're really strange. And
like you
max Yukiko out, and then create a powerful priestess persona, and
then you become the healer.
And then you become the healer, but that's not very exciting.
See, but the thing with Teddy is that you could take 2 people out if you had a fire persona with yourself, and you'd be able to put somebody else in.
Yeah. So
because he would be healer and ice, so you wouldn't need Chie and you wouldn't need Yukiko if you had a fire persona that was pretty powerful.
And of course, she's the feminine, demure.
She's not demure. She's the laughing stock.
Yeah, but like early on,
everything.
She's really unsure of herself. She's going to inherit the family business, and she's kind of resentful about that.
She doesn't want it.
She doesn't want it at first.
Now she wants it because she realized she's making an impact on the community.
Yeah, so I think the game pushes pretty hard to make sure you end up with Yukiko.
I think, well, yeah, I guess it's up to choice, and that's hard.
And like easy is not the word I mean, but she's the easiest girl to end up with.
I think Chie probably would be easier because I figure, when you go and see her on the roof and you give her, she likes a lot of food.
Yeah.
She has a favorite. Like, I figured out, for some reason, Yukiko's favorite food is fried chicken, and I just guessed it because I made fried chicken, and then she was like, this is her favorite. I was like, everything that involved Yukiko I was pretty excited about.
Yeah.
But like Chie, I think I got her at an 8.
Yeah, you got her to 8 or 9.
Mostly just like going on the roof and eating lunch with her.
Yeah.
And her storyline is like she's not a very feminine girl.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they make relationships before relationships in this game, and the only one that Yukiko really isn't is Yukiko. Everybody likes her, so it doesn't really establish someone for her. But the way that Chie and Yosuke act with each other, they act like a married couple.
And then Kanji really likes Naoto.
Likes Naoto.
And then Rise is a pop idol. She's not really connected to anybody.
No, she just comes after me, but Yosuke wants her hardcore because he's fawning over her for the first 3 weeks while she's there.
Yeah, and then Teddy's a lost cause. So Yukiko's
Teddy's
really the only one.
all girls.
Yukiko's the only one that's not paired off.
No, and I think that's what you're saying. Is like that's implied because she's kind of like Rise. It's that whole, she's the really, really pretty girl in school. She's the really smart girl in school.
Yeah.
But she's not really looking for a relationship like that from any of the guys around her because they're not looking at her for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it looks like we could probably talk about this all day. It looks like my battery's about to die, though. So that was our discussion on Persona 4. We'll see if we can't have another couple of Bri and T chats sometime soon. So, till next time, bye.
Bye.